Exclusives. Exclusives are the biggest defining factor of any console. Regardless of whether you have a certain controller, menu, or achievement system preference, the biggest factor you'll likely face when buying a console is what exclusive games you can play on it. It's for partly this reason, the Xbox One has struggled more this generation. The Xbox One has a ton of multi-format games, just as many as the competition, and while it has some great console exclusives like Gears of War 4, Halo 5 and Forza Horizon 4, it's a little lacking when you compare it to Nintendo's or PlayStation's offerings this generation. But the question is, are they a positive thing, or are they just stopping everyone from enjoying great games on the platform they choose? To attempt to answer that question, first we need to define the two main types of exclusives. The most obvious type is a first-party exclusive. This is where the platform holder creates their own titles, like Nintendo creates Mario games for the Switch, or maybe where the platform holder owns different development studios who exclusively creates games for their console, such as Naughty Dog with Uncharted and The Last of Us. The second type are purchase exclusives. These can either be permanently exclusive or timed. Examples of this are Bayonetta 2, which was funded by Nintendo in exchange for console exclusivity, or Rise of the Tomb Raider, which was a one-year exclusive to the Xbox One. There's a fine line between whether these are good or bad. Timed exclusive deals like Rise of the Tomb Raider or Metro Exodus for the Epic Store are a great example of how they shouldn't be done, paying money to essentially stop a game from releasing on other platforms for a period of time that otherwise would have done sooner. Examples like Bayonetta 2 were kind of different, as Nintendo funded the sequel, and while it's unfortunate other platform owners didn't get to play it, the sequel wouldn't have happened at all otherwise, at least according to Platinum Games' Hideki Kamiya. You could still make the argument that the game should have released on other platforms regardless of Nintendo's funding, but the incentive for them to fund the project may then not have been there. While we're on the subject, purchase exclusivity doesn't just relate to the games themselves, as content exclusivity is even more rampant, with PlayStation being the worst offender of them all, offering more content for multi-platform titles on the PS4 such as Destiny 2. This is another great example of how not to do it, passing it off as offering extra content to the consumer, but really just removing content from other versions of the game. So now we got the purchase exclusive stuff out of the way, let's go back to the first party exclusives. This is where I think it's a little less clear cut and more up for debate. There's two trains of thought. Let's cover the positive one first of all, which is competition. At the beginning, we established the main draw of a console is the exclusives. That's largely what sells a consumer on one over another. So there's that push for Sony, Microsoft and Nintendo to offer the best exclusives they can in order to drive more sales at their platform. Would say God of War or Mario Odyssey be as good as they were if they were never intended to be exclusive and released on any and all platforms? Theoretically they could very well have been, of course, but would that same drive have been there from them to make them the masterpieces they were? After all, they are both essentially intended to be system sellers and they know that, so they put as much time, resources and money into it in order to achieve that. Sometimes an exclusive may not even make its money back, but they can justify putting so much money into it because while they know it won't necessarily turn a profit, it will sell a lot of their systems. Another point is that without them, would we even have consoles like the Nintendo Switch? I don't think a Nintendo console could survive without the weight of its iconic IPs that you can't get anywhere else, and if that was the case, we lose the innovation Nintendo brings to the console market, which would be a real shame. Lastly, trying to create a game for all consoles means they may be limited by what the least powerful of the bunch can achieve, as well as the fact they might not be able to really take advantage of the unique features of a platform's controller in the same way as if it was catered specifically for it. The negative train of thought is that they are very anti-consumer, only aiding the platform holders and not the player in any shape or form. Back in the day when consoles varied massively in terms of hardware and architecture, it was just accepted that it wasn't always easy to place one game on multiple platforms without completely reworking or remaking it from scratch. In some cases that did actually happen. There'll be quite different versions of the same game for the SNES and Mega Drive, sometimes due to licensing, other times due to the differing hardware. The thing is that we're not really in that place anymore. Consoles are more similar than they've ever been before, with near identical PC architecture, so from a hardware standpoint, exclusives aren't as excusable. Also, should they really be defined by their exclusives, or should they be able to stand out for different reasons that make them unique or better than another? To put it in another way, why do consoles need to rely on them to still be competitive? Is it still competitiveness, or is it just a form of monopoly, unnecessarily forcing you into their ecosystem because you have no other choice if you want to play those particular titles? I'm going to be honest, I'm a little on the fence between them being a positive and a negative, so this is where I pass it over to you to share your opinion. Do you think they are good or bad for the gaming industry and the consumer? Let me know. You may well have arguments for or against I haven't covered. That's it for today. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like, subscribe and hit the bell icon for a notification each time my video goes live. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.